We have with us Elizabeth Millner, who was inside that courtroom for the continued cross-examination of Casandra Ventura. We believe she's going to be exiting the stand today. Elizabeth, so good to see you. I understand the elements are against you right now, so I want to make sure that we get to you quick. I know you have to jump back into the courtroom. Interesting day of cross-examination. What is the mood in the courtroom, and what is the theme of the cross-examination today?
Well, the mood in the courtroom was definitely seeing where this cross-examination would essentially go to, especially after yesterday. There were a lot of kind of comments yesterday just about how Estevao was asking the line of questioning. She seemed kind of frantic. She seemed kind of like she didn't know how to ask the next question. She's over kind of conferring with her other counsel who's at the defense table, kind of wanting to know and insinuate what is going to be happening next. A lot of the conversation, especially towards the beginning today, was just about the Intercontinental Hotel back in 2016. The defense asked Cassie, you said Diddy blacked out during this incident, and Cassie wrote in a message, she said, when you get effed up the wrong way, you always want to show me that you have the power to knock me around like a rag doll. And the defense was kind of insinuating that during this moment, during this incident that happened in 2016, something that a lot of us saw on that surveillance video, they were kind of making it seem that Diddy was having a bad reaction to drugs, having a bad reaction to mixing it with alcohol, because even yesterday when they were cross-examining Cassie, they were talking about how he might have taken a bad batch of drugs during this incident, and even days prior to it, he might have been experiencing drug withdrawals during this incident. Again, trying to make it seem like this was the reason why he had attacked her on that surveillance video. Then they go back to 2016, where that same year, where the defense is asking, did Diddy accuse Cassie of cheating on him with some unnamed football player? Cassie wasn't sure how Diddy had learned of this. Cassie said she was dating someone else, but not sure how he found out. Diddy grabbed her phone, took off, and left without her phone. Her mom actually had to call the cops essentially to get her phone back. Diddy spoke with someone on her phone while he had taken her phone away from her. And that was kind of the crux of that phone conversation. Then Cassie was asked, how many times did Diddy take your phone away from you? And she said, he did do this often, as well as take other things from her, lock her outside of her home, take her car away, that type of thing, something that she had even answered to under the direct examination. Then there was another point where the defense was trying to say, did Diddy take your phone away after he caught you dancing with Chris Brown? This in 2013. Cassie says she doesn't necessarily remember this situation because possibly to her, this is something that just happens so often. Then I think, Jesse, one of the more interesting points that had happened today was we heard this audio recording of Cassie back in 2014 as she was confronting this man named Sujit. Sujit had told Cassie in Atlantic City that he had seen a video of her, an sexually explicit video of her, and Cassie wanted to know where this video came from. How did it come into his possession? Because she had assumed that this was a freak-off video of her that was about to get leaked. And so we hear her in this audio confronting Sujit, and kind of, I think the point that the defense was trying to make was just that Cassie would commit violence. She said things along the lines of asking repeatedly, can I see this video? It's not me touching myself because you said someone else was inside that room. Sujit said that he had this video clip on his phone. You can hear Cassie saying, I will kill you, I will kill you, I will put you in a desert, I will cut you. She kept saying, I will kill you because you're effing with my life. And Cassie, at one point in this audio clip, said she'll get someone else actually to do it, and said that this SHIT is not cool. And, I think essentially the defense was trying to point out, because this was something under her direct examination, that she was talking about how Diddy's security guards entered a conversation and they all had a sit-down meeting at a restaurant to obtain this video back. But from the defense's perspective, they're trying to essentially insinuate that Cassie was threatening to kill. And look, we've all been there, right? Where, I could have a bad day and say, I will kill. Actually, let me just kind of take that back a little bit, because I don't want this to be used against me or anything like that. But, there have been points where I think anybody can argue that we have all said at one point that, I'm going to kill you, because that's how mad we get at another point. Another interesting moment that was discussed during this morning's testimony was Jonathan Auty. And we all know Jonathan Auty very well here at Law&Crime, especially you, Jesse, because you've covered him a number of times on Sidebar. Cassie was saying that Jonathan had taken a secret video of Cassie and Diddy during a freak off, and Diddy tried to make this video go away. That Diddy spent actually a significant amount of money to make sure that this video didn't get released. And even after Audie had taken this video during this freak off, Cassie had admitted that they never used Audie ever again during one of their freak offs. She said that she was pretty concerned about the situation, concerned that Jonathan Audie would release this video. There was even a point that they had discussed today just about Garrett and Cowboys for Angels, an escort service that they had used often to kind of get escorts to their freak offs, and that they actually had a reality show on Showtime about this called a presumably Gigolos or something along those lines of that, and that some of the contestants on this show were some of the escorts used in these freak offs. And I could tell just being inside that courtroom today that there were some moments of just, I don't know if it was embarrassment or nerves or just kind of like, where is this going? Why are we talking about this? Especially as the defense was asking her about her rehab stint in 2023, where they were asking her, what type of treatment did you go for? Were you going just for depression, or were you going for sex addiction and love addiction? They were talking about how she did treatment therapy, where she had hooked up pretty much wires to her brains just to kind of help her go through trauma therapy, and how she was recounting her memories. And I could tell that that was kind of a hard point for her to talk about, one, because it was so recent. I mean, 2023 was just a couple years ago, and this was months before she had filed her lawsuit. And so I could tell during those moments that a lot of us were kind of like, where is this going, and why are they getting so personal, asking her about her time during rehab, especially because it was kind of like, is this even necessary for them to talk about? And, I'm, again, not in the jurors' minds, but yeah, I was wondering if there was a little bit confusion on their end of what they were listening to, essentially, because in 2023, she was no longer with Diddy. She was married to her now husband. She had already had children. So we were kind of like, what does this have to actually do with her direct testimony at hand? And so, from what I could see of Cassie, she still has remained just like she has been the first few days of her testimony, remaining calm, cool, and collective. She, there were points you could tell where she just didn't want to recount these moments. One interesting point that she had said today is that she doesn't even hate Diddy. She said that she had love for the time that they had had prior to that, but she admitted today during the cross-examination that she doesn't really hate him. And so as we were kind of wrapping things up towards the end, right before we had went to lunch break, they were kind of starting to get into the breakup and everything that happened in 2018, how Alex Fine was kind of connected to that. And even when we were in the courtroom, Alex Fine had to step out of the courtroom during those moments because the defense might call him as an impeachment witness to impeach his own wife's testimony later along whenever they get their case and whether they present their witnesses. And so those were kind of the biggest moments and the biggest highlights that I had seen inside that courtroom. As far as just tone today, Diddy was doing how Diddy always does, very much so, kind of quarterbacking his defense, jotting notes down, passing them off, handing them to his attorneys. Estevao, I will say, she just seemed like she was just kind of scrambling a lot at times, something that I don't think is very much translated well onto the transcripts, that a lot of us are just kind of like, and this is no offense to her, I don't know what it's like to be a criminal defense attorney. I don't know what it's like to do those types of questionings, but I think a lot of us were kind of wondering, why is she the one doing the cross-examination as opposed to maybe Tenny Garagos or even Nicole Westmoreland or Alexandra Shapiro, because she just seemed a little all over the place where she didn't know where to take the questions next. She had to kind of, again, confer with Mark Agnifilo or Tenny Garagos about where the questioning would come from. So it was a little interesting to see her do this cross-examination because from our perspective, working in the press, it seemed all over the place, but no idea kind of how the jury was interpreting just all of this information.
And we're trying to make sense of it too. I mean, I think with the treatment, I wonder if the goal is to say, well, were your memories manipulated in any way? Were they affected in any way about what might have happened? I mean, it was right before you filed the lawsuit. Very interesting timing. Listen, Elizabeth, I know it's raining. I know you have to jump back into that courtroom. Thank you so much for your in-depth reporting, as always, giving us a detailed play-by-play analysis and breakdown of what's happening in there. Elizabeth, really appreciate it, as always.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jesse.
You got it. Okay, so we're going to continue the conversation with Mina and Ben once again. Mina, you heard what Elizabeth had to say. It felt, from her perspective, a layperson's perspective, a little disjointed what the questioning is. Ben and I are attorneys. We're trying to figure it out, how they're making the legal arguments. I think I'm getting a sense of where they're going. But What do you think? Is it a little too disjointed?
They're fishing, they're fishing. They're trying to maybe say maybe she had a sex addiction and, or maybe this is the drug's fault, and I think you're right about it's going to come down to closing arguments, right? How do they make sense of everything that we're hearing? Are they going to say that, this was infused by drug abuse and drug use? Are they going to try to use that? Or are they going to say that they were both sex addicts? They have to blame someone, right? The defense has to blame someone other than Diddy or provide an explanation for why these things happened. So they're fishing to try to do that, it seems to me.
We got a question for you, Ben. This is Lisa G. You know me. Actually, I do know a Lisa G. I don't know if she's saying that to me. Well, Lisa G. You know me. I think I know. Can someone help me understand? Does Miss Ventura settling for a reported $20 million lawsuit impact her credibility in the court's eyes? I mean, Ben, the lawsuit that she filed did come up during her questioning.
Yes, I think it's a great question, and I think it might influence the jurors. On the other hand, if I were the government, I would argue that the fact that that civil lawsuit is settled actually takes away any incentive for her to make it seem worse.
So we have more super chat questions coming in. Eva Rios, thank you so much, Eva Rios. Hello, is this the same judge who denied bond? Well, there were multiple judges who ended up denying Sean Combs bond, and I believe Subramanian was it was two or three, I forgot. It was three, right? It was three judges, right? And they actually abandoned the effort at one point. They could have actually fought it even higher. They could have appealed it even higher, and I think they cut their losses. They said we need to focus more on the defense moving forward to trial. We have a question from, again, a super chat question from RegHan43. Thank you so much for the contribution. Will the prosecution team subpoena or get celebrity mogul Jay-Z on the witness stand to cross-examine? Mina, I'm going to start with you and then I'll move on to Ben. What do you think?
First of all, if you know anything about Jay-Z recently and his acumen when it comes to attorneys, I think it would be very difficult. Jay is lawyered up, basically, and I don't see his relevance, right? We haven't heard about him being involved in this at all. Social media is running rampant with allegations and speculation about who were at these freak offs, who participated, who else aided and knew what was going on, but he hasn't come up. And I think even if he does come up, which I don't think he's going to come up, Jay is so well versed that I'm pretty sure he will never see that courthouse.
Ben, well, and by the way, you're referring to, of course, the fact that he was accused in a very public lawsuit of sexually abusing a 13-year-old girl in 2000. That lawsuit against him was dropped, arguably because the allegations against him were debunked by not only NBC News, but also Jay-Z's attorneys, or seemingly debunked, I should say. Now, Ben, I'll throw it to you. Jay-Z, we're going to see him at this trial?
No, and I agree with Mina. If I could for a second, I wanted to go back to her point about fishing. Fishing is not something, as you know, Jesse, you want to do on cross-examination. It goes back to the old adage, never ask a question to which you don't know the answer, because you can get many bad surprises on cross. What they should be doing on cross is to be extremely organized, make their points succinctly, and stop.
Yeah, and I wonder if that might be affecting things. Ben, I'll just stick with you. We had a question from BK. If Cassie's testimonial is only classified as domestic violence, who can bring and help prove the racketeering? So if I could just tweak that question a bit, do you think that her testimony so far has helped with the overall racketeering conspiracy charge, Ben? And if not, who does the prosecution need to bring to prove it?
I don't think that they've established any of the technical aspects at all yet. I think this is all about poisoning the jury's mind about Diddy, which probably was done by the video. I'm not sure who the government has, but as Mina said, the government is going to have its ducks in a row, and they're going to have witnesses who can at least on their face, satisfy the elements.
I'll just push back and say, I think that there is a little bit that they're making. So
Yep.
when she testified about, he has these security guards, he has these assistants who are constantly checking up on her, who are cleaning up after the freak off. So if you're talking about a criminal enterprise and him having a team of people and a conspiracy, multiple people working together, I can kind of see how that testimony helps. If she's talking about underlying predicate crimes to prove racketeering, allegedly blowing up Kid Cudi's car, arson, right? You're talking about her doing drugs, drug trafficking. She's talking about being sexually abused, sex trafficking. So I think that there are elements that are, I don't think it's crystallized. I think I'm doing mental gymnastics here myself to try to make sense of it. It'll be up to the prosecution to do. Okay, here we got a great question. Okay, this is for you, Mina. This is an interesting one. Bobby Heath. Jesse is the very best at doing sidebar. First of all, thank you. I'm not making this up, by the way. These are the actual compliments that are on here, so I appreciate it. A question I have, if this is the question, a question I have is if Cassie wasn't 9 months pregnant, would they put her on the stand last to finish strong? What do you think, Mina?
I don't think so. I think that video is so powerful. They have to establish the violence that Diddy is capable of, and then the supporting witnesses will fill in the blanks, right? Also, you have to establish the racketeering part of it and the organized crime part of it. And I think it was really strategic how they started with the bodyguard, the intercontinental bodyguard, in where the bodyguard said, I went there and he threw money at me. And, he bought the tape for $50,000 or something like that. And you have to really establish that there's a cover up, right? A cover up that's trying that they're trying to really hide what they're doing. And I think you needed to see it so they can fill in the blanks after that.
Question for you, Ben, from Daniela3984. Please keep them coming in. We got a lot of questions coming in right now. But can new witnesses, Ben, added by the state attorney, prosecutor, or would it be possible for the judge not to allow new witnesses? That's a good question, a trial question about how much you can add new witnesses during the course of the trial.
Yes, it's a great question. It's a great question, and usually there are deadlines for that, but both sides can also bring in rebuttal witnesses who have not been identified by either side. So there usually are some new witnesses at trial.
We have excuse me, joking here. Got a question from Lisa Morales. Are we going to see Justin Bieber on the stand? Very funny you should say that, Lisa. No, I don't think we're going to see Justin Bieber on the stand, particularly he came out today, Mina,
Yeah.
right, and said that he is not a victim of Sean Combs. So, by the way, we are going to do a sidebar on that. It's going to come out tonight. So I'm actually going to record it right after this. But Mina, no, right?
No, he's already put that to rest. That rumor has been running around on social media as well. In fact, social media started pulling up everyone who Diddy has been associated with. Since they were young, Justin Bieber, Usher. I think his attorney made a good point saying, mentioning Justin really takes away from some of the actual victims here, and that we need to focus on those victims. So no, I don't think Justin Bieber is going to be showing up here.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think this is a misnomer and maybe a disappointment for people who thought this was going to be a celebrity-filled trial. Big names are going to be accused. That's not what this is. This is a very particular case with very particular witnesses. Having said that, there is reports that Dawn Richard is going to take the stand after Casandra Ventura. By the way, you mentioned one of our viewers kindly mentioned sidebar. I want to just say something real quick. So,
Jesse.
I have to say it. I got to say it. Listen, we're constantly covering this case. We're constantly covering true crime news, and we make this content specifically for our YouTube audience. We just got the word that Sidebar was ranked number 32 in the top 100 podcasts on YouTube, and that is all thanks to you and your support and your viewership. Really, really thank you so much. Listen, not self-promoting, but I'm letting everybody know this is, we're making this for you guys, and we really, really appreciate everybody coming to us.